Well, first of all, I think it's been a couple of weeks, few weeks since we've spoken to you on Sky Sports News. So I guess you're back in training and everything. You've moved through the phases. Have things gone as well as you could have hoped so far in terms of getting the players back and ready to play Premier League football?
They have, yeah. I mean, as you say, we've had the last few weeks going through the protocols from stage one, the small groups to then the contact training, and everything's gone really well, I must say. Happy with how everything's been handled, and we're fortunate we've got a fantastic group of staff here. Medical department have done a wonderful job in making sure everything's run smoothly, and the players have responded to that in a really positive manner. Trained really well, and yeah, we're looking forward to the start.
How has it differed from how you would normally be preparing, though, for a Premier League fixture, albeit one that's sort of a week and a half away? I mean, have you had to change much once you're out there on the training pitch, or pretty much now are you back as you would be as normal?
I wouldn't say we're exactly as we were, because there's still the social distancing, there's still the little bits of organisation you have to be aware of while the session's going on and in between the sessions, and there's probably a little less interaction off the pitch, of course, because of the protocols in place. But the sessions themselves, they run pretty much the same while we're training. It's normal. You wouldn't see too much of a difference when you compare it to pre-COVID. So no, we've been, like I said, we've been happy with how it's ran, and we're adapting to what is the new normal now.
Of course, you have to adapt to the new testing protocols and so on. Is it a matter of sort of almost like getting your exam results each time, because you'll have plans in place for what you want to do, how you want to prepare, how you want to play, but each time there's a test, those plans could be thrown up in the air by someone who might not be available for the next session or to play an actual match?
No, exactly. It's twice weekly it comes around, the testing. Firstly, you're a little bit, you forget about it, and then you realise, oh, I've got to do the test and have things put on the back of your throat and up your nose. So that's not so pleasant, but it is what it is. And then you're just waiting for the results to come back. We've been fortunate, or we've worked really well as a group, as a bubble, that we've had no negatives, so no positives, sorry. So that's been good for us. But yeah, again, that's something that we have to take into consideration as we go forward. You have to wait for the results and adapt. Like I said, that's the new normal now.
How much are you able to focus on what's ahead? Does it take away from the focus? I mean, we know the situation Brighton are in. I'm looking at the fixtures that you have when you come back. You've got Leicester, you've got Man United, you've got a massive one against Norwich, you've got Liverpool and City. A real tough run of fixtures to come back to. That's enough to think about before you think about everything else that's going on at the moment. But how much are you able just to focus your group on the job in hand?
No, we've been really, I think it's been really positive in that regard. The boys have come back in a really good way. I would say we probably had the best 2 or 3 weeks training we've had since we've been at the club. So the performances, the attitude, the quality has been really, really high. So everyone's, we're all pretty much in the same boat. We've had a long period out, a frustrating period, because we've all experienced what we went through, and it was not nice to go through, because it's people are losing their lives, and it puts things into perspective. And now that we've got the go ahead to play, we want to get out there. We're looking forward to it. Yeah, we've got tough games, but they're always tough games in the Premier League. That's, as I've always said, that's the challenge of the competition. You don't want it to be. You can't say on the one hand it's the toughest league in the world and then think that there's some easy games. It doesn't make sense. So for us, we're looking forward to the start, and I'm really happy with how the players have approached the return.
As well as everything that's been going on with coronavirus, the last couple of weeks, a lot of the nation's focus has been on the protests after the George Floyd killing in the States, and a lot of talk about how football might react when it comes back. Does Brighton have any plans in place to mark Black Lives Matter? Are you waiting for Premier League guidance? How are Brighton going to play it?
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, I've been speaking to the players, and the players are speaking with the club. I mean, our stance as a club is one of we're totally against racism in all its forms, and then from a group of players, we want to firstly talk about it, understand the situation in a better way, in a deeper way, I think, and then yeah, I think we will do something to show our support for a really, really important campaign.
And you say that it's a discussion that goes on between players and so on. For you personally, and for the players and so on, is it something where you've been perhaps getting a greater understanding of the issues at play, perhaps at a deeper level than we normally discuss in football circles?
I hope so. I think that's the biggest challenge for us all is to understand. There's a historical context to this. I think education can help. Otherwise, we take things on face value. I think we have to understand, like I said, the historical context. We have to educate ourselves to be in this society. It's easy for me to speak. It's not something that is easy for me to speak about because I'm white and I haven't experienced the racism in terms of the negativity of it. But I need to understand more. I need to read more. I need to educate myself more around why it is a disadvantage in this country. If you look at most social economic areas to be black, and that's something that we have to understand on a historical level to be able to face the challenges that we face at the moment.
On a lighter note, I've been reading about the plan for fans to have cardboard cutouts of themselves in the stands. A couple of cheeky ones of people taking pictures of their Crystal Palace supporting mates to stick up there. But I guess from your point of view, would anything in the stands, anything that can create some sort of environment, some sort of home environment, be beneficial for you?
Well, I think it's hard for a cardboard cutout to generate the same atmosphere that 30,000 people in the Amex can. But I suppose it's just an opportunity for fans to engage in what it is now, to get involved in this new normal. I think we'd all agree that to have real life supporters in the ground would be far better than the cardboard cutout. So, of course, unless they're hurling abuse at me, then I'm happy with a cardboard cutout. But yeah, it's nice for them to be involved, like I said, and we'll miss them, but we have to get on with it and we have to adapt to the new situation. That's going to be the challenge.
How do you adapt? Have you been doing what a few other clubs have been doing? Have you been training on the pitch at the Amex and getting used to playing out there in front of empty stands?
Exactly, yeah. I think it's sensible to do. We're used to playing behind closed doors, of course, and we have these games in pre-season, but to actually play at the Amex and to feel what a Premier League game will be like with nobody there, it makes sense to have that feeling, to adapt to that, and it's going to be an interesting few weeks.
And just finally, just a couple of sort of housekeeping things in the situation with players who have been on loan. Anthony Knockaert, has anything been decided about what happens with him? Is he staying on at Fulham or permanent move or anything like that?
No, nothing to report with that. He's still at Fulham, obviously finishing his season off there.
And the others, I know Kyle is away as well. What's happening? Have you discussed loan situations and stuff like that, and who's coming back or who's going to go where and so on?
Well, all the guys that are on loan will stay and finish their loan spells, and then we'll discuss at the end of the season, I suppose, what the next plan is for them. Each individual is different, of course, and we'll make those decisions at the end of the season. That's
great. Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Graham, can I ask you firstly about the Matchday operation plan and the return to play protocol, which we're expecting clubs to vote through today? What do you make of those? They're very detailed. Are you happy with the plans that are in place?
Yeah, I am. I've been on a Premier League managers meeting, just had all the information, probably a little bit condensed from the 50-odd page document that's out there at the moment. But it all seems fine. Again, we know that we're going to have to adapt to things and things won't be like we're used to, but that's fine. I've been happy with how the Premier League have dealt with the situation so far as we've gone through the stages, and I've got confidence in that's going to be the case as we go into the games.
How much will you have to adapt on match day? Because there's obviously a limit on the number of staff you can have in the stadium as well. Will that affect things at all?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, sometimes there's so many people around. It's not like the biggest factor in the world. Of course, we have to, the adapting to the crowd, not being there is probably the big thing from the players' perspective, from everybody's experience of a game, of a Premier League match. But we know why that is, and we're absolutely fine with that. So, no, we know. I think we've spoken about it enough. We know what to expect. We know it's not going to be a normal Premier League situation, but we know why that is. So then it's a case of not letting that affect us or bother us, and we play football as well as we can.
And you're back in contact training now. You spoke about how it's not actually too dissimilar to what players have been used to before. But how tricky is that balancing act of ensuring players are ready for the season, but you're trying to reduce the risk of transmission and also the risk of getting injuries because there's so many games happening in such a condensed period?
Yeah, it's a balance. It's just something else that as a coach you have to take into consideration when you're planning your sessions and you're periodising training. That's what the job requires at the moment, and we've been doing that as well as we can. As I've said before, we're happy with how the players have worked and how they look now in the training sessions and in the sort of game situations we've had. So we're pleased with that. And then you've got to do your bits, like you say, to make sure we're responsible and ensuring that we're maintaining social distancing and we're playing our part in terms of how we deal with things when we're not playing the football situation, when we're not into the contact training. And that's a little bit different, but again, everybody understands why we're doing that, and there's been no problems. We're adapting to it well.
And in terms of what we've seen in the Bundesliga so far, it seems as if only over a small sample size that home advantage doesn't count for a huge amount. What have you made of that, and what effect do you think home advantage will have on the last few games of the season?
Yeah, I'm not so surprised. I think everybody will say that the main thing about the home advantage is the crowd. I think the hostility of the home crowd in the Premier League is where the advantage is. It's not always the case, of course, because sometimes a home team can have been a moment of a bad form, and you can use that against you. But I think certainly the crowd in the British game as well get so involved in the game, and little moments can change things in the match. So as an away team, it's difficult when there's a 30, 40, 50,000, 60,000 people there in the game. That's normal. But as we said, it's not there. We haven't got the crowd, and then you have to just play football and play football as well as you can, because that's the challenge now. We can't look from our perspective on anything else. It's not like the Amex was a massive fortress for us before, and now we haven't got that anymore. So we have to play football, and we get on with it.
And just finally, it looks like pretty much every game will take place at its original venue. Are you confident that fans won't congregate outside the Amex for your home matches?
Yeah, I am. I think not just ours, but I'm confident of all the clubs. I think everybody's been aware of the situation, aware of what we've been through, and I think most people understand what has to happen in order for this to carry on and to finish, which is what everybody wants. So yeah, I'm confident.
Graham, thanks for your time. Speak to you soon.
No problem. Cheers.
You've got 9 games in 5 weeks. They've introduced 5 substitutions. What do you make of that, and how much have you thought about your squad rotation over that period?
Yeah, I think we all thought that it would come into play. Obviously, after the Bundesliga and also just the talk of the short preparation period. So you've got the welfare of the players, I guess, to consider, and then just to keep the bubble of players together. More subs, bigger squad can help that. So we anticipated that would be the case. We're okay with it. I think it does change things a little bit, of course, because 5 subs is 2 more than what we're used to, and that has an impact on the game. But again, we all understand why that is, and we're quite happy about it. We're positive about it. we'll have to use it well, which is going to be the challenge. But we've got a good squad. We've got a deep squad, and hopefully we can use that in our favour.
Yeah, I mean, you rotated your squad quite a lot over the Christmas New Year period when you had that busy spell, but you've also added some under-23 players. Have they been getting on, and what's the sort of thought process behind that?
No, they've been good. It's, I suppose, a few things just to make sure we've got enough bodies around, players around to make sure we can conduct our sessions. Some 11v11 work, so there's all of a sudden 22 players. Some players can do the full session, some can just do part. So it's nice to have some players that can maintain the idea of the session. It gives us a chance to look at those guys as well. Of course, we've had Stephen Alzati, we've had Aaron Connolly break into the group this year. So it's an area we want to keep looking at. So it's a multifaceted reason why we would have them involved, but their attitude's been great and they've helped us a lot. So it's been good. It's nice to have the enthusiasm and freshness of young players around as well.
You start out against Arsenal. Is it even more favourable to be able to watch them play beforehand, bearing in mind you've had just such a long break and no teams have been playing?
Well, you hope so. You hope to try and get any sort of positive that you can. I mean, you could argue that they've got a warm-up game, if you like, or a game before they play us, so they're into the competition quicker. It just boils down to we have to be ready for the game. We have to understand what we're trying to do, and we have to play football well, and we have to be lucky. And if we have all those things, we've got a chance of winning the match, and that's what we have to think about.
So, I suppose you've had an awfully long time looking at the table, really, haven't you? I suppose that with the margin for error being as small as it is, I think it's 2 points, isn't it, from safety? Sort of give me your assessment of the run-in. How do you look at it with 9 games to play? Well,
we have to focus on the next match. That's the most important one. That's the most important thing for us. You can't look too far ahead, I don't think. I don't think it makes any sense. As I said before, every game in the Premier League is tough. You can't, on the one hand, say the Premier League is the toughest competition in the world and then think that the games are going to be easy. That's not how it works. But our focus should be on the next game, trying to win that, trying to do everything we can to get the points that we need. And then after that, we move on, keep it quite simple. You can go around in circles, waste a lot of time and energy predicting the future, things that you can't control and driving yourself insane pretty much. So my approach would be focus on the next match and drill down into that. And then once that's played, move on to the next one.
Is it probably enough to be worrying about as a football manager without, getting into the realms of those sorts of things? I suppose before the break, it was a bit of a tricky run of form, wasn't it? No Premier League wins since the turn of the year. But has the break given you a chance to refocus, reset, actually give you a really clear idea of what the goals are?
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, yeah, you're right. We had a run of results that we would have liked to have been better. We only lost 3 games in that run, but because we didn't win, you understand the margins in the Premier League. It feels worse, of course, and that's something we want to change. I think the break, the enforced break, came at a good time for us and for me. And then you have to use it in as best way as you can, and that is to reflect, like you say, and to analyse and to plan. And it was a tricky process because it was so uncertain and unclear what was going to happen. But as we've moved closer and closer, it becomes clear that we're going to play, and we're delighted with that because you want everything to be solved on the pitch. And then it's just a case of being ready. The players have responded really well to that. They've worked really well during the lockdown and been so professional. And then their attitude and professionalism and quality since coming back has been really, really, really good. So we're really looking forward to it.
You touched on something there that I just want to explore a bit further. The idea that you've been doing a little bit of homework, I suppose, during lockdown. Has it given you a chance then to kind of look at some areas that you perhaps would have saved till the off season? Maybe transfers, maybe strategy, maybe tactics. Have you used that time in those sorts of ways?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's given us lots of time that we wouldn't have had normally to maybe analyse the whole season, to really go into a lot more detail than maybe you do if you're going from game to game, which is where we were at before the lockdown. So that allows you to go into maybe a deeper level of analysis, and then from there you can think about how you can go forward in a good way, maintaining the things you've done well, and improving the things that you need to improve. And that's probably the coaching process as well, if I'm honest. So I'm pretty sure everyone's done the same. But yeah, we made sure we weren't on holiday. We weren't doing nothing while the lockdown was on, and we were working, and we were making sure that when the time came that we were going to have to play, we were going to be ready. And I think that's where we're at now.
It must have been quite a nice experience seeing the players come back for training. I'm sure there were lots of smiles on faces when that happened.
Yeah, and I suppose you can, from their perspective, that they've gone through the process of being locked down themselves and gone through hopefully what is a once in a lifetime experience. And I think everybody has chance to have some perspective, to reflect on their lives, reflect on their jobs, every aspect of their lives. So they've come back in a really good way, and as I've said, they're looking forward to playing football. That's what they are. They're footballers. Want to get out there on the pitch and play.